Mitch Marner. Bit of interesting news that we got the other night. Before Mikko Rantanen went to the Dallas Stars, Carolina was pretty deep in talks with the Toronto Maple Leafs about a Mitch Marner swap. And it got as far as to say that Mitch Marner was asked to waive his no move clause, and he did not waive it. He chose to stay in Toronto, and obviously Rantanen would go on to the Dallas Stars. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a few factors at play there. A, if you're the Leafs and you think you're going to sign Mitch Marner long term, why would you try to trade him for someone that is worse than him and has you could maybe get for free in a few months, or if or not even that, just someone that, like I said, like he's just worse than Marner. I feel like we've kind of seen that. He's kind of a McKinnon, I don't want to say merchant, but obviously it helps by playing with him, and he's not as defensively responsible as Marner. Why would you do that? And for Mitch Marner, he was asked about that and asked about his future with the Maple Leafs, and he would not comment on it. He just said he's there to play hockey right now. So, all indications, Mitch Marner is going to test free agency. And I'm just starting it now. Your captain's upset. You have not been a relevant team. You can't get around trade clauses. It's incredibly tough to do that. Your team has zero playmaking ability, pure playmakers, of real lack of playmaking and play creating ability. And I don't know how in the hell you market to your fan base for next season. The Buffalo Sabres should be all in on Mitch Marner if he hits the market, and not in the all in like, yay, it's a superstar. You got to take a run at him. I mean, you have to be all in. Like, this
Mm-hmm.
has to be the Steven Stamkos saga where, like, you were the favorite. If Steven Stamkos did not want to go back to Tampa, he was going to Buffalo, and he was going to go on a bloated contract, right? It wasn't like 12 and a half. Funny enough, 12 and a half million was like the number for Steven Stamkos, which was a lot higher than he got in Tampa. This is it. I'm kind of, putting a pin in the whole Elias Pettersson thing. This is my new campaign. Like, this is something that you just, if he hits the market, throw the bag at him, because we know at the end of the day, like, that's kind of what Mitch Marner's after.
I wouldn't bat an eye if they threw like 14, 15 million. Would you care if they threw that money at
I
him?
don't care if they give him 16. Like, I don't care if they give him 17. Freaking get him. Don't care. Genuinely.
I mean, what? He's gotten his career high in points was 99, and I think that was 2 years ago, but he's been consistently over 85 points
I
a season.
I
He's
He's a
been
superstar in
consistently.
every sense of the
Yes.
word. He's a
Yes.
superstar, and I
Yes.
look. I know the playoff thing. All right, he's been a ghost in some playoff series. He's performed well at times. Like, he had a great run. I think he had, what, 14 points in 11 games when they went to the second round. 21-22. He was really good against Tampa. I know it hasn't gone well in the playoffs, but A, you would hope that that changes when he's with you. And B, who the fuck cares? You are in a 14-year playoff drought. Who the hell cares about what he's done in the playoffs? Let's get there first. Like,
Yeah,
let's
seriously.
let's get there, figure it out, and
I'd much rather talk about someone not performing in the playoffs than talking about this team right now. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. I did a little calculation early in this episode, knew we were going to talk about this. Since 2018, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 7 years. He's been on pace to have a just as good or better season than Tage Thompson's career year of 94 points. He had 94, then he was on pace. If there's 3 years in a row where he didn't play 82 games, but 94, on pace for 93, on pace for 99, 97, 99. Last year he was at 85. He was probably on pace for about 100. This year he's on pace for over 100. He is a superstar. You sign him, he comes onto this team as your best forward. He is better than Tage Thompson. You need he checks every single box. Every single
Hmm.
box. He's a playmaker. You don't have a pure playmaker on your team. He is a right winger. Our entire team, it's not the conversation about, handedness, it always goes to just our defense. It's a issue on the forward court too.
You got
We have
so many lefties.
just tucking
Well, it's
not
so
pat-
many lefties, but it's also just like if somebody played right, if somebody played right wing, it's not a big deal. But you don't have that. You have Alex Tuck, Jack Quinn, and whoever the hell you throw on your third line,
yeah. It's
or it's
another
been
issue.
Tage Thompson.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
we I've brought this up. It's been 4 years now. When Alex Tuck was traded to the Buffalo Sabres, he was always the bridge guy. He was the bridge guy. You thought it was going to be Jack Quinn because he was a monster in the AHL Rookie of the Year, had a great rookie season with the Sabres, and it's just completely spiraled ever since. That top line was supposed to be his spot. It was never supposed to be Alex Tuck. He was supposed to be the second line, maybe even third line in a perfect world, right winger. The trickle effect of having to force him on that top line for so long now has just it's something that it would be better if they figured it out. I mean, I think last night against Edmonton's a perfect example. He's a great matchup player, and him and McLeod and Zucker had a pretty good night against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and that's the type of thing that you can really do. But if your top line needs another scorer, that's where he's playing 90% of the time.
You need high end talent to free up more of your roster. Like I understand putting guys in situations where they need to step up and it could be good to have those challenges every now and then, but good hockey teams don't win that way. You need to go out and you need to acquire high end forward talent, which this team has sorely lacked since Jack Eichel and Sam Reinhart left. Ryan O'Reilly leaving didn't help either. It's weird to say. I think that one of the worst teams in Sabres history had Ryan O'Reilly, Jack Eichel, and Sam Reinhart on it, and they couldn't get it done because of the complete opposite issue. I commend Kevin Adams for coming in. I feel like he's done terrific in the draft and the development process and the front house after it got absolutely wiped out after what do we call that day? Like what is it? Black Sunday or
Bloody Tuesday, I
Bloody
believe it was.
Tuesday?
We'll put it on the iceberg.
Either way, yeah. Um, I think he's done a great job rebuilding all that. The problem is there hasn't been enough winning, and the winning it goes hand in hand. You don't win, you're not getting the high end talent. So guess what you got to do? You got to overpay for him. But the team doesn't spend to the cap. So where does that leave you? Lacking high end talent, and this is where we sit right now. So I'm all aboard this train. We need to come up with a slogan for it. Um, do you have any ideas? We should come up with a slogan for this. But either way, throw $15 million at him, give him term. He will help your roster immensely.
Yep. I'm not even done with the fit. I mean, we're talking about, we're the youngest team in the NHL still. He'll be 28 next season. He kind of is a vet presence. He's been to the playoffs. Yeah, he might not perform in the playoffs, but there's playoff experience. He's from Ontario, so him signing here would be close to home. He's a Bills fan. Any Sabres fan on Twitter knows he's a Bills fan. Um, it makes so much sense. You got to do it. You got to be all in. Like, what was this entire MLB offseason? The whole first 3 weeks, even longer, was about teams making presentations to Juan Soto. I want to hear the Sabres made a presentation for Mitch Marner, and the entire front office flew out, and Terry was there. Like they need to convince him, and Look, at the end of the day, it might be a long shot because it takes two parties to play. He would have to want to come here, but the Sabres have to make a significant offer and a real run at him. Like, even if he doesn't sign with us, we need to hear, okay, the Sabres offered him a 7 by 15 and he just chose to go elsewhere. Like, we need to just see that commitment. I mean, Jonah and I saw the same thing from the Red Sox this offseason, okay? They made a big offer for Juan Soto after getting criticized for 5 years about not spending. And then that led to them spending all of that money that they had, quote unquote, committed to Juan Soto on other players. So you get in your head, you get committed to spending this money for Mitch Marner. You're immediately going to pivot off to something else and try and spend that money. Like them making an offer to Mitch Marner, I think would be a commitment to spending to the cap and wanting to win right now.
All that money just to go 81 and 81.
Hey, I wouldn't be talking over there after you just lost your best pitcher.
Man, you can't. I can't control that. I feel like every pitcher goes through that now. What do you want from me? We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Garrett Cole will be with us in spirit.
Guys are an Aaron Judge stub toe away from being an under 500 team.
He'll run into the right field bleachers at Dodger Stadium again.
The Sabres can offer Marner everything he wants. And it would literally be getting Marner under the belief that he can win in Buffalo. And it's a tough task. It's a very tough task, but you got the money. You got more than enough money. I mean, Puckpedia projects that they're going to have what? I think $22 million in cap space. They project they'll have $22 million in cap space heading into next offseason. You trade Sam Lafferty, that's an extra 2. You trade Connor Clifton, that's an extra 3. You buy out Matthias Samuelsson, that's an extra 4. You have almost $30 million to play with.
It's a lot of moves. It doesn't strike me as a Kevin Adams thing.
I mean, is Lafferty and Connor Clifton gone? I feel like those are kind of certainties.
Yeah.
I don't know. You do that, you got almost $30 million to play with. And then after that, you got $15 million to rebuild your defense. You can play to the ego. I mean, we know. Mitch Marner, very tough guy to negotiate with because of the people he has around him. His dad, Paul Marner, and his agent, Darren Ferris. The negotiation saga back in 2019 was a whole roller coaster for Toronto and Toronto media and everything. And they get their worth. That guy was not ready for Austin Matthews money yet, but they gave it to him. He got what, $10.9 million?
10.9, yep.
$10.9 million before he had earned it. Guy's going to get what he wants to get paid. And it's tough to find teams that can give him that money and also reasonably build the rest of their roster out with. And you can do that. And you can give him the playing time that he desires. You're close to home. He barely has to move down the street. And it's weird. It's really weird that this is a whole thing, but he's a huge Bills fan. I mean, he's got a foot in Buffalo culture already. And biggest of all, if the playoffs go badly again for him, because I do think that's important, that he doesn't perform as well as he could, it's going to be a really bad exit. He's going to have a lot of bridges burned in Toronto, especially with that fan base. The revenge pitch is right there. It's so easy to make.
To get the rivalry back.
It'd be so
amazing.
much fun. It'd be so much fun.
Amazing to have him leave, go right down the street.
And then he gets to play in front of his home crowd when they take over our building again, and he could score the game-winning goal.
Because if that were to happen, like a hypothetical world where this happens, night 1 of the NHL, night 1 is Sabres versus Toronto.
It should be,
and it's probably I guess it's in Buffalo, and he'll get booed there because it's just there's going to be so many Toronto fans. It would just be so funny, but it's right. Like the revenge pitch it's just so perfect, and I think it's why Jay Fresh, for example, brought up that it's a perfect fit for Mitch Marner. I mean, if he hits free agency, let's say if this was 2023, and right, because if I say right now it's a perfect fit, people laugh and it's Buffalo, and to an extent, like yeah, they're right. But after 2023, when the vibes were high, people were believing they could win again, and Mitch Marner hits the open market. I don't think like it would have been a lot of people talking about that. And now you're in the same place. Just you need to convince him that it's viable to be here. Or honestly, you could go crazy, give him $16 million for like 3 or 4 years and set him up for another big payday when he's 32. I mean, we're talking about 7 years here. Even if you overpay for a few years, or you like, I don't give him $20 million for like 1 year, like Marion host of the friggin' thing. I'm not. Don't do that. That you're screwed if you do that. There's a line. There's a line for everything. But you could get crazy here, and it's time to throw a Hail Mary. If anybody's listening to this and going like, "You're crazy," like that's the dumbest idea, a part of you is probably you're thinking rationally, and you can't think rationally in this situation. I don't want to say it, but if shit goes really south again, if they have a quieter, or if they do have an off season that doesn't quite hit the mark, and you go into next year, and we have another season like this, not 30th in the league, not lottery pick, but lowish 20s, and they miss the playoffs again. Adams or Ruff are gone. Dahlin wants out. We're going to be talking about the viability of this franchise. It's going to come up. And like a part of me, it's never going to happen. But still, like, it makes you think, like, what if, man? What if? And I don't want to be there.
Neither do I.
So, what better way to get the top line right winger, playmaker that you have needed for so long? What better way to reinvigorate a fan base that is going to be so tuned out of this year when it ends? And what better way to just reignite a rivalry that has been dormant for like 20 years than to just go all in on Mitch Marner?
You're getting my hopes up, man. You're really getting my hopes up right now. And I'm picturing it right now in the blue and gold, and it'd be awesome. It really would be awesome. It'd be so much fun.
It gives them like if they got a marquee like Elias Pettersson, that would put eyeballs on them. If they got trying to think, like if they got Jacob Chikrin a while ago, if they got, I'm even trying to think of like another, like Taylor Hall, like sure, that put eyeballs on them, former MVP, but still nothing comes as close as the feeling that you would have if they signed Mitch Marner and just immediately brought back to relevancy, immediately Buffalo's a destination again. So many things. It's in a perfect world. Of course their chances are low, but they have advantages on other teams. They have this isn't like if Mikko Rantanen hit the market this year. And we would talk about it. We'd be like, hey, like they could do it. Like there's nothing stopping them from throwing 13, 14, $15 million at Mikko Rantanen. But you just don't see the fit. He's probably he seems like a guy that really wants to win. Mitch Marner, he's got a history of chasing the bag. He has the proximity to Buffalo. He has roots in Buffalo culture. And he just checks all the boxes for the Sabres. That's why I think if he hits the market, I think the Sabres are in play, man. I do. I just do.
They better be. Yeah. They have to be.
And they have to be.
They 100% have to be.
It's crazy, too. Like, you sign Mitch Marner, and I know some people probably won't believe me when I say this, but you sign Mitch Marner, okay? That's the only move you really have to make in your forward core. Like, the three of us and some others, we were trying to formulate, lineups the past few nights, and it's like we can't fit more than 2 forward additions into our roster because You already have like 5 of your top 6 locked up. Your third line's top locked up. I mean, fourth line, whatever, but that's the only forward addition you have to make. Then it's just focus on getting like 2 top 4 defensemen.
Like at the end, like that stat is so evil. I mean, credit to
Mhm.
Kevin on Sabres Twitter and credit to Jay Fresh who spread it to a wider audience. Like the Buffalo Sabres have scored more 5v5 goals in the last, what was it 3 years? I think was
Yeah.
it 3 or 4 years? 3 years. Then, I mean, pick a contender out of a hat, and they've done it.
I think the stat was basically almost everybody because even at the end of Jay Fresh's tweet, he left a comma like he would keep going. Like it might be almost every team in the league we've scored more 5-on-5 goals. It's insane that we are this bad and we're leading a stat like that.
Over multiple seasons.
Yeah.
And you've had one playoff viable year out of it. They've had
like-
more. Oh, I've got the stat.
Go
Hold on,
ahead.
I've got it pulled up. The Stars, the Leafs, the Knights, the Avalanche, the Devils, the Bruins, the Lightning, the Panthers, the Rangers, the Hurricanes, the Jets, the Capitals, the Canucks, the King. Everybody.
I think the only team I would confidently say is better than us is probably the Oilers. Like that's the only
That's
team I
probably
can
it. You're
imagine.
probably dead
Mhm.
on. It might be it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're fourth. They're fourth in 5v5 goals this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll fact check that right now, but I know going into the Edmonton game, they were fourth.
Like this offseason, it really isn't that complicated on what they have to do. Go get a top 6 forward like Mitch Marner. Go get probably 2 good defensemen. Like, we'll see what they do with Bowen Byram and see what they do with Samuelson, but you need to secure you need to get power a partner basically. At the end of the day, if you're only making one addition to the defense, you need a power partner and then fix your damn special teams. That's 3 things. That's all they have to do. A top 6, a top 4 defenseman, and fix the freaking power play. It's not a difficult offseason.
They'll make it difficult. Don't you worry about that. They'll make it like it's pulling teeth.
At 5-on-5, the Buffalo Sabres are still fourth in terms of goals scored. The Blue Jackets, the Capitals, and the Dallas Stars. That's it. That's it. The closest non-playoff team, I think, is the Blues at 12th. Insanity, man.
It's criminal.
It's tough. This team, this core, they score goals. It's everything else. If you sign, because we're talking about Mitch Marner, even if it's not him, if it's like Ricard Raquel, which I don't think is like a crazy acquisition, you get him. Okay, there you go. There's a top 6, probably top line forward. He's played a lot of time with Sidney Crosby. He can do it. Focus just shifts to the defense because you're not touching your goaltending. Focus shifts to the defense. It becomes find a partner for Rasmus Dahlin because I think they're going to trade Bowen Byram, and find a partner for Owen Power. That's it. That's the path to this offseason. It's Kevin Adams can be done with his offseason in 3 days.
He could be done most of his offseason before free agency even opens.
He could be done on day 1 of free agency.
Yeah,
Mitch Marner and make
and
a few trades. That's
and a
that
it.
Mitch
hypothetical-
Marner signing could be the last thing he needs to do.
Yeah, I mean I know the names. I was like, there's right-handed defensemen to talk. They're not easy to find, but there's right-handed defensemen to talk about. We heard, the Kings, they might trade, Brant Clark was available, Jordan Spence maybe. I mean, those are 2 guys that don't make a lot of money. I mean, a guy I've had an eye on, or just a team, is the Utah Hockey Club, because they've got Sean Dursey, they've got John Marino, Michael Kesselring, and then Maverick Lamro is knocking on the door. Like, there's a right-handed defenseman that, it might have to give there. It's like if you got like a Michael Kesselring, which I don't think is crazy, makes less than $2 million, I think. And boom, there you go. One of those guys, power for partner. Other guy can play with Dahlin. Boom, finished. Pretty easy. I mean, it's easier said than done, but you got direct needs this offseason. Fix your defense because it is the bane of your existence. And yeah, that goes into the forward. Forwards have to play defense too, but your forward group will score goals, and even if it's not always the defense's fault, okay? Rasmus Dahlin is the only guy putting up elite defensive results. Owen Byram has horrible impacts. He scores goals, horrible impacts. Owen Power hasn't been good enough, but he's not going anywhere. And just name any defenseman you want. Henry Okiharu, not a good defenseman. Matthias Samuelsson, average in a third pairing role. Connor Clifton, same thing. You play any of those guys higher in the lineup, you're screwed. It's what it comes down to. So as long as you get one top 6 forward addition and 2 top 4 defensemen. I know that it's tough to get 2 top 4 defensemen that shoot right-handed, but guess what? You're in an all-in offseason, so it doesn't matter. You're in a corner. Who cares? This we talked about last offseason. It was a summer of if it fails, it's not my problem. That is the mentality for the summer. If it fails, it's not Kevin Adams' problem. If
Right.
you trade the 3rd, 4th overall pick to get a right-handed defenseman, oh well. You hope your prospect pool and your young talent you've built up can carry you through.
Yeah, you should use the Bean quote. And he was like, he said something about either drafting or free agency or something. It's like, listen, if it doesn't work out for me, I'm not going to be here, and there's a reason for that. So Kevin Adams, the writing's already on the wall. He sees the end of the tunnel coming up with his contract being up, with how this has gone the past few years. Dude, it's like if you don't make moves, you should just be writing your resignation letter now. You're dooming yourself. You're digging your own grave if you don't.
You know what I think the worst part about that is?
What?
It might be out of Kevin's control. If Terry doesn't commit the money, it's not up to Kevin.
I don't believe they gave. I think because here's like the misconception about Terry that I think we play into because we criticize him so much. It's never that he doesn't have the money. It's just he will not spend it and has to be proven to spend it. But I think if you play into like casual hockey knowledge, like if you get a player that like a casual person would know, like Elias Pettersson, sure, like casual hockey, like very casual hockey fan, maybe not know. Everybody knows who Mitch Marner is. And I'm sure Terry Pegula knows him very well. Hell, he's been on the field. He's been on friggin'
He's probably shaking hands with him.
He's been on the turf of Highmark Stadium. I think you can play, like, I think that's something he would go for. And I would say, like, it's an easy pitch because it's like, it's a superstar. There's no drawbacks. There's literally none.
Nope.
It's just playoff performances. That's it.
And this team will just be happy to get to the playoffs, so we won't even care.
And if they are what the Leafs are, Terry Pegula is still becoming a richer man every year.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if they're the Toronto Maple Leafs, you're finishing top 3 in your division every single year, and you're getting at least 3 games of playoff revenue at home. And that doesn't go into, watch parties held at the arena, merchandise sales, boosting, season ticket sales going way. I mean, you sign Mitch Marner, regular season ticket sales immediately jump up, probably into the positives for margins. And just one playoff appearance, you'll be back, man. It's just, with Mitch Marner, you will be back. So, it
is a slam dunk.
For a guy that
slam dunk.
For a guy that I've criticized so much, I don't think that would be an issue if he is willing to spend on Elias Pettersson, who is by no means, as much as I love him, is by no means the perfect slam dunk addition. What's another $20 million over 7 years for Mitch Marner?